You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene. I'm Wole. But my co-host Ray G's is out, but it's okay. We're gonna still hold it down. You can check us out on our website, which is www.urbansportscene.com. Before we tackle this show, let me break down some particulars. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. If you're on YouTube right now and you have not subscribed to our Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel, hit that red subscribe button and also like this video. Don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene. And also like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. And also check out the homies from the Football Garbage Time website. We usually do a NFL Pick'em challenge with them. The season's over, but still tune in to them. We're going to talk about some NFL draft stuff, fantasy football stuff. So pull up to the Football Garbage Time website, which is www.footballgarbagetime.com. You can also, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of anything else I got to tell you guys. No, that's it. Anyway, let's get into our edition of pregame. Here's what we have on tap. Sports Journeys, NFL, and Washington Commanders insider Lake Lewis Jr. will join me to discuss the rumor that the Washington Commanders will be interested in trading for San Francisco wide receiver Deebo Samuel. Well, you know what? Let me introduce my guy into the show right now. We got to waste no time. He's a star of stars. Washington Commanders insider Lake Lewis. What's going on?
What's going on, man? How you been?
I'm good, bro. How you been?
I'm all right, man. Just, trying to get used to a new mic and all that good stuff.
Folks, you can't tell this dude Chris. Can you not tell?
Yeah, I don't like wearing these, but
hey, it's earbuds, man. Look, you're a professional, bro. You're professional with them things, man. I got the all black. Look, we together. See, we together.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and put my anchor one in though. That goes in the ear and behind, so you can't see all this stuff. Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna do.
What's going on, Paul? What's going on, dude? Janae? I'm glad for y'all. Glad that y'all pulling up. Appreciate y'all. All right. So, Lake, as you heard in the intro a little bit, obviously Commanders fans are so geeked up for what happened in the in the playoffs and the NFC Championship game. Before we get into all that, bro, first off, I got this big time question. It's a polarizing question. What was your vibe of the Super Bowl halftime show, bro?
I loved it.
Thank you.
I loved it when I first saw it. I was baffled by some of the comments that it wasn't good or it was, it was the worst halftime show of all time.
Yep.
And for me, the people that missed that, that says a lot. That's all I'm going to say. It says a lot if you miss what was being done, and that was intentional. And to do it on that platform, I've always said that, I'll use myself as an example. I've always said that, if I ever made it big or if I ever made it to a point where I had a platform, I was going to use it to be heard. And I thought what Kendrick did was, some people don't like it because it was sports, it was Super Bowl. But if you can get down with Justin Timberlake pulling out somebody's breast, you can't get down with Kendrick Lamar for making a political statement that was speaking for a lot of people that don't have voices. So for me, I thought it was really cool. This rendition of Kendrick, I can honestly say, music wise, I like the old Kendrick's music, much better. Okay. But all his music still had messages, and he's using his platform. So you got to give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like it's two-sided. It's folks that, truth be told, that message if it's over your head, it wasn't for you.
Of course, of course.
And then secondly, if you didn't, and I've seen this on my on any of my timelines on all social media, because I make sure I go back and pay attention to folks who said stuff initially. Then you're a Drake fan if you didn't like it.
Pretty much.
Not to say all Drake fans, but the majority of folks who didn't like it, I can guarantee you that if the message went over their head, that's one. Or secondly, if they're Drake fans, I can guarantee the majority of those folks didn't like it. Can almost guarantee it.
Well, all I gotta say is, it was dirt on the coffin after the other
That's
night.
what I'm saying.
I mean, listen, Drake is tremendous talent. Take nothing away from him. I like some of his music as well. But you're gonna have to have an epic come back to this stuff over the last year, because this was like the nail in the coffin. To have SZA, to have Serena out there. I mean, that was
Man,
like,
Crip, man,
that's
walking, man,
wild, man.
walking.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wild. And yeah, man, it was message on message on message. I mean, if you go back and look at it again, you'll see things that you didn't see. It was almost like
Hmm.
going back and watching a movie that you like
Facts.
miss stuff on. Like, I think for every 2 seconds, or every, realistically, seriously, for every 10 seconds of something that was going on, there was a message being sent. And I don't know. I just think that that's true artistry, like that's what you want to see. You want to be entertained,
Yep.
whether you like the message or not. But we've seen other people make political messages. We've seen other acts out there, and they weren't nearly as scrutinized. And we, come on, man, we already understand why.
You
But
know,
that's even more reason why I thought this thing was amazing, because he put himself out there. He really did in doing that. So you got to give people credit.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, he showed like an art, like art, like he showed the art of being a musician to me. You know what I mean? Like artistry at
Yeah,
its finest. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And that's what I liked about it. You know what I mean? It's just like the message, like having Samuel Jackson out there, Serena, like it was a lot going on in terms of being a performer, right? Like he gave folks a show, and even if you didn't get some of it, and if you say if you were open minded, right, you may have not gotten the message, right, but at
Hmm.
least if anything, you understood like the performance itself, and just in terms of being like being detailed in what you did, you know what I'm saying, on that stage. And to me, if anything, if you didn't get that, then you was out there to hate. That's how
Well,
I look at it.
I mean, I'm not necessarily putting Kendrick in the class of some of these people I'm about to name,
Yeah, yeah.
but if you go throughout history, I mean, you can go to the Beatles, you can go to, Michael Jackson, you can go to Marvin Gaye, you can go to Curtis Mayfield. I mean, there was so many artists, from years past that made political statements in their music, and they were revered for it.
Facts.
So, what happens is when you're a prisoner of the current moment, you hate, and that's what people do. But then in retrospect, you can reflect a couple years from now, and like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when there are Super Bowl halftime shows, I guarantee you people are going to be still talking about Kendrick's performance, because it's all over right now. It's a buzz. And there are a lot of people retracting comments about that they didn't like it, which I just was just totally baffled by. Like, that was one of those things you had to absorb that before you made a comment. You really had to let it sink in and ask yourself, did I see what I thought I just saw? Like,
Hmm.
it was that much stuff going on. I know I was like, wow, what is going on here? Like, this was crazy. The whole, people were like, well, why would it just, all they were doing was walking up and down, back and forth. And I'm like, it was supposed to be a prison yard, man. Did you,
Yeah,
did you not get that? Of course you didn't.
man. They chose, like I said, man. A lot again. Man, a lot of them folks. Yeah, like, I'm with you, Paul. A lot of folks from Drake with Drake. Like that's what I always say. I said this on Facebook, and I was joking, but I was being like real on the low. I was like, I need to get a group of friends who like Drake, because the loyalty, those folks are the most loyal people in the world.
Well,
Like they are the most loyal.
it's like what they call the Bron-sexuals,
Yeah, like hey,
with
I mean,
Bron and Mike. You one of them, but still,
still,
come
I know
on.
exactly. I was saying to myself, like, yo, you need to find a friend who love you like Drake, who love you like they love Drake. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's what you need to find, that, because that is loyalty. That is loyalty.
Yeah,
To a point where when somebody is not even doing ill to the guy that you like, but like somebody else who to me had a good performance, and the only reason it's clouding your judgment is because of your love for this one dude.
you
Man,
know what this is like, man. This is like, this is kind of like for us, from a rap standpoint, it's kind of like the Jay-Z Nas thing at one point. You
yeah, I can
either
see that.
pro Jay-Z or you were pro Nas. I was always pro Nas.
Me too. I was always pro Nas. Yep.
Absolutely, so, but in today's world, they just haven't seen this. This is kind of like, we can go even before that. We can go back, Biggie Tupac. That was a whole coast versus each other, two coasts versus each other. But fortunately, I will say at least this is just on what we used to say, on wax. There's nobody being killed here.
No.
Metaphorically, yes, but in real life, no. There's nobody. No guns, none of that violence is involved, and it's also sad to see two of this generation's better hip hop icons going at it. But I mean, I'd rather them go at it like that than take it into the streets and all that good stuff.
I agree, and also I think that they're not those dudes anyway. In terms of like
No,
Pac and
no,
Biggie, where that was at. This is to me is a battle in its truest form. Like
it is.
because even Kendrick said it. Like,
And Drake's gonna strike back. I mean,
yeah, he's
make
gonna
no
strike back.
mistake
Yeah,
about it. It's just, how do you strike back? I
yes,
mean, like, that's what I'm curious to see. Like, how, because you can't keep talking about record sales and stuff like that, because Kendrick right now is at the top
yes.
and record sales. Drake's probably got the better catalog, as
Yeah.
far as body of work.
Hmm.
But just right now, Kendrick's that guy, and it's gonna take a lot for Drake to do this. But I'm a little biased too, man. Being from DC, I've always, I used to always say to my friends who grew up in the suburbs, don't act like you're down if you've never really been in there, because it's
And
it's not something that you glorify. Put it like that. And I've always said this, not the air stuff, but growing up in DC, I did have friends that got killed. I
yeah.
did. And my father used to always tell me, don't be out here putting your chest out. This is, where you from. Because when my parents got out of DC, and I say out of DC,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that they were saying you look back about. Don't forget where
Yeah.
you're from. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Proud DC guy. But yeah, man, when you can get out, you don't glorify it, man. You just don't.
Hmm.
And I think that is part of the beef too with Kendrick and Drake. I think it's Canadian dude. That's what I'm saying, man.
I mean,
Kendrick's from Compton, man.
yeah.
It's yeah. So I can respect that. I really can, and I've always said, be where you are, be where your feet are, and don't pretend you somewhere else. Because, not to air all this out to you, man, but I never forget my daughter when she was younger. Had an event in DC in Anacostia,
Hmm.
and here it is. She's growing up in Ashburn, and yeah, we went in there for this event, and she was on my leg. Like, when are we going home? I said, you see what I'm saying? Like, you out here telling your friends, my dad from the hood and all that stuff. Like, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. So, yeah, man. Anyway, whole nother story, but
Oh, I mean, look, man. That was my issue with Drake and Kendrick. Kind of put it on wax when he, like, and on like Not Like Us and things of that sort. When you heard it, he pretty much referred to that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm with it. Like, act like who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got it. Like you said, like he's a talented. Drake's talented. Got a great
Mhm.
catalog. One of the best rappers in the game. No one's gonna take that away from him. Period. So
Mhm.
just stay true to who you are. You don't have to act like a certain dude or try to be this certain person. You know what I mean? And I'm just glad that I'm glad Kendrick called him out on it. I've been waiting for it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I like
I've been waiting
anybody that
for it.
calls out that kind of behavior,
Yeah,
because again, man, if you haven't grown up in that kind of environment and you didn't see things, and good for you that
yeah,
you didn't see it, but don't pretend, because you will be called out on it for real.
yeah. You gotta be. Yeah. Paul said, "Hey, yo, like that happened to my son."
Real stuff, man. That's what it's real. It really is. You no, don't pretend, man. And I see it a lot. I see it in like, let's be honest, man. You in PG, and
Yeah.
my
Hmm.
family's up there in PG,
Yeah.
and I always say that's the privileged black kids now. They're
Yeah.
growing up with money.
Hmm.
We're making money there, and and it is a little bit of entitlement with some of the kids, and they don't understand that
Hmm.
their parents were the ones that made it out of DC. That's my sister. I can tell you that. You know my sister.
Mm-hmm.
That's her. That's my sister. She made it out, and she's doing well. And
Yeah.
but my niece and nephew, yeah, not to call them out, I love them dearly, but yeah, they're growing up not having to see the stuff that my sister and me saw for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I see it all the time. I mean, I coach ball. I see it all the time. I coach these little kids. I coach teenagers, kids that like never not seen no. I seen. I
Yeah,
sit back.
you
I coach where I grew up at. Like, and where I grew up was rough. So like when I look at it, I'll be like, oh yeah. I ain't live with, I ain't lived the times I lived in.
yeah, DC's not the DC. DC now is not the DC that I
Nah,
was in.
even
No.
PG County, like even certain, certain sides of
Oh
PG
yeah,
County,
yeah, no, no,
like yeah,
no.
DC ain't the DC of old.
Oh
That's
no, it's not. But I
that's a
remember
fact.
growing up, going to Landover Mall. That was the mall you went to when you
Yeah,
lived
that's
in DC.
yeah,
You
exactly.
went to Landover. Landover Mall's not even there. It's
And I ain't
gone.
there. You know
That's
what
where
I'm saying?
FedEx Field over that way. But
Yeah.
it's different, man. It's just different. It is, and finally somebody got called out on pretending, and
That's
that's
what
what
I'm
it's all
saying.
about. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
That's
Yep.
what I'm saying. So we didn't give y'all history lesson on stuff like the area, the DMV. We gave y'all the Drake, Kendrick, Louis, the Super Bowl hats. So we gave y'all everything. So now we gonna give y'all what y'all been waiting for. Y'all been waiting on this Commanders talk. So we're gonna give y'all some Commanders talk. All right. So the Lake I mentioned the Niners with wide receiver Deebo Samuel has requested out of San Fran. The Commanders have been linked to Deebo as a possible trade destination. Do you think that the Commanders should aggressively go after Deebo Samuel?
Sure they should.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's the best fit, but I think you know I've seen things about oh he's a diva, prima donna, all that stuff. I never heard anybody, and I know some folks that are on that coaching staff out there. I've never heard anything negative about him. I've heard he's a great father. On top of that, has kids come out on the field. But I think that in Washington situation, people have to understand Adam Peters knows this guy and they have history. So if Adam Peters wants to get him, he knows he'll be good for the locker room. And I think anything is better for Terry to have a legit number two next to him that'll open up his game even more and people won't have to gang up on him. And then I also think the one caveat that could be a good thing about Deebo Samuels is that you're not going to have to break the bank to get this guy. You're going to have to break the bank to get T. Higgins. You're going to have to break the bank to get a big front line free agent that's looking for that payday. Samuels is a guy that you may not have to give up a lot for in a trade. I mean, you could probably give up a fourth,
Yeah.
maybe. And if you're telling me a fourth rounder for Deebo Samuels, I'm doing that every day and just taking my chances and seeing how it works out. May have to go up to a third, but I don't think you would have to go up to anything higher than that. But like I said, for you to go after T. Higgins, maybe even a Garrett Wilson is a guy I like too. But you're gonna have to give up a lot for those guys as far as paying them as free agents to come to you. So for Debo, if you can trade for him and it's a fourth rounder or something like that, I'm doing it every day. You've
Paul,
upgraded your number two position if you do that.
like Paul said, okay, Devo is worth a fifth rounder. Honestly, a fifth rounder.
Listen, that's
If you
Paul. I
can,
mean,
if you
if,
can,
if
yeah.
if if they come in for a fifth rounder, I'm flying out and getting them. I mean, fifth rounder for Debo Samuels.
Wow.
Forget if he's been injury prone or I mean, that's an upgrade at number two for anyone that's on this roster. Let's just be brutally honest about that. And you tell me that a guy like that's more of like a Swiss Army knife, a guy that you can put in the backfield, guy you can run special plays for. It would just make this offense that much more dangerous. And you know how it goes. Sometimes guys wear out their welcome and they want to leave somewhere. They'll be on their best behavior when they come to another place. And I'm not saying best behavior because he's a problem
Yeah.
in the locker room. I don't mean that. I just mean like he'll understand that he's a piece to help this team close the gap against Philadelphia. That's what this would be all about. And it would be cool because he's got history with Philadelphia too,
Yeah.
when they're chirping a little bit with the Niners in Philly. So he would be bringing that sauce here to DC. So yeah, man, if you can give up a fourth or a fifth for him in a trade, every day I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm with that. What Todd said, I can't see AP giving Higgins a big deal of money, knowing that they will have to pay Terry as well. Yeah,
There. And I
okay.
agree with you. I'm not. I'm going to come out and say it, and I've been saying it on my pod. I like T Higgins' game. I think he's a great player,
Mhm.
but I think T Higgins wants to. If he's wanting out of Cincinnati, if he were to leave Cincinnati, it would be with the notion that he's a number one receiver wherever he goes.
Yeah,
He's not going to be a number one receiver in Washington. That's Terry's job. That's Terry McLaurin.
yeah.
Terry proved that this year that he played as a top five wide receiver, something that I was looking to see if he could elevate his game to that, and he did. So they don't need anyone to disrupt the harmony that's in play between Terry and Jayden. They just need someone that can add on and cover another side of the field as far as being a legit number two. And T Higgins, to me, if he wants number one money, he goes to New England or he goes somewhere like that, or to the Raiders. But if he just wants to be a part of something special, then just stay in Cincinnati. I mean, you got Jamar Chase right there and Joe Burrow. You don't need to leave. But if it's about the money, I just don't. Me personally, I wouldn't go after T Higgins if I was the Commanders. I wouldn't.
I personally think T Higgins is the number one. I do. I think he's the number one, but I don't want him. To your point, I don't think he's not needed here. But I have a whole argument about what I think he needs over. Let me put it this way, and but I want to tackle the subject. I'll put it this way: the team gave up 55 points against the Eagles. I'm not worried about offense like everybody else is.
Thank you, man. I keep saying
Not what I'm worried
if what they need on offense before anything else, they need more help on the offensive line.
There you go. Like that's where I'm
And
at.
then if you make me rank things in order, and then after the offensive line, they need a home run running back.
There you go.
Then after that, you can go out and get you another receiver, but I'm not so sure you just can't do that in the draft. You go out and draft a receiver. I don't think Washington's problems, as you said, stem from the number 4 ranked offense that with minimal frontline talent outside of Jayden and Terry and maybe Zach Ertz, they were in the NFC Championship game solely because of that offense. So you don't have to go out and break the bank on offense. You can shore up some things and get better with that. But your money needs to go on that other side of the football. You need some interior players on that defense, and you need some edge rushers. More so before you even need corners. I think if you got pressure on a quarterback, Marshawn Lattimore and Mikey Sainristil might even look even better. I still think they can go out and get a corner. Don't get me wrong, and move Mikey into the slot. But they have to get edge rushers before anything on that defense. If I'm Washington and I have all this money and I have some players that might be expendable via trade, via Deron Payne or maybe John Allen, as much as it might surprise you to hear me say this, I think John Allen may have come back and played himself back into the future of this team.
I agree. He was awesome in that.
Yeah, I think Deron might be the guy that might be tradable. So with that said, I wouldn't be so shocked if somehow, some way, Washington ends up with both Myles Garrett and Max Crosby. That's where I think the money's going.
If that happened, that would be fire. I won't lie to you. If that happened, like that to me, I can even sign De'Ami Brown and make him my number 2. You give me those 2 dudes, I'm good. I don't even care about.
It changes everything, doesn't it?
Everything.
You get those 2 guys now. It's about the draft, and you can fill some holes with the draft picks. You might re-sign De'Ami. Hell, Noah Brown before he got hurt was playing good football. That's what I'm saying, man. It just changes everything on that defense. But they need to do something to close the gap on Philadelphia. Bottom line.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like, for me, I just felt like, am I coming out? Am I blurry?
Yeah, you are like a ghost right now.
Like I know, I could tell. I was about to say it'll be all right eventually. Come on, I need my thing to come out right. Come on, y'all, get it together. This is not. This happened last time I was on the show. I was like, I'm a dark skinned dude looking white. What's going on here? There we go. I know what time.
That's because you was disrespecting Drake, man.
I know. See, white shit folks coming.
Washed you out.
The light skin folks are coming at me. They
Coming back.
wildin', man. They
It's the
wildin'.
80s.
They haters, bro. They petty.
We
Petty.
know when did they go out of style though? You know what I'm saying? Like people say,
Exactly.
"Oh, man, you light skinned." Like, no, I'm right in the middle, brother. It's whatever you had come up, myself, and then you. That's how that goes. So
How it
yeah.
goes. That's how the coloration works. Hey, but yeah, I'm gonna get back. Like, but I agree with you on everything. Like, I just felt like defense is definitely a thing. But going back to something you said about Deebo, what I do think though for Cliff's offense, this is why I'm like I don't typically personally I don't really want Deebo, and that's how I want him. I don't think
Mhm.
they need Deebo. And that's the best way for me to state it. But I will say with Cliff's offense, I do think he would be a great weapon in his offense. Knowing the screen game, the wide receiver screen game, the physicality he brings to the table, like he could take like those gadget Cliff plays and take it to
Mhm.
the house. We saw that with the Niners. How he can his catches up the middle. He can just take a 10-yard catch in route and take it to the house. I do think there's something he could bring to Cliff's offense, and also helps Jayden. Like Jayden just had to work as hard to be the playmaker. Like when you got Deebo out there, Deebo is like a phenomenal playmaker. Just when he gets the ball in his hands, you know what I mean. It's not anything to do with route running or things of that sort. When he gets the ball in his hands, he is a premier running back, kind of like, you know what I
Absolutely,
mean?
absolutely. And you know what? I agree with you. They don't need him,
Yeah,
but to Paul, one of the viewers, listen, man. If you can get him for a fifth rounder, I said fourth rounder.
yeah,
Man, you better go get that dude. That's
yeah.
nothing. That's a bag of chips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you not even. It's not even barbecue chips. It's just a bag of plain chips for a fifth rounder for a guy that does produce when he's healthy on the field. Yeah, I would do that. I'm not giving up assets or anything for him. I'm just not. Again, and for everybody that keeps putting all this stuff out about, there's rumors they're going to do this, they're going to go get that, they're going to get this. One thing I do know about Adam Peters is that he's smart and that he's not going to mortgage their future.
Right.
There's a reason why they have cap money. There's a reason why they have these draft picks. There's a reason why they had a pretty good draft last year. For everyone out there saying, oh, they didn't have a strong draft outside of Jayden last year, that's total hogwash, man. I mean, Michael Sanders still started. Brandon Coleman started. You can't do that. You can't say that they didn't get anything out of this. McCaffrey was decent on special teams. So they had value in a lot of these picks, and then the guys like McGee and Hampton, I think they'll be guys that will have more of a central role this year coming up. So, Baptiste, Jean Baptiste, they're going to have roles this year. So I think that was a very good draft, considering it was a rushed draft. Let's face it, they came in, Quinn and Peters came in quickly and had to go immediately into draft mode. Well, now they've had a full year to assess every player in that building, see everything they need to get. And I tell people all the time that NFC Championship game, ultimately losing to the Super Bowl champions now, was a blessing in disguise, because it showed you how far away you were from Philadelphia, but it also showed you how close you were too, because you were in the NFC Championship game. So if Washington goes out and does what they're supposed to do, they're second best team in the NFC to me this year. I legitimately mean that. They're going to have a legit chance to play Philadelphia again for all the marbles. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I do think that, by watching the Super Bowl, it lets you know the body what this team actually needs. Like you gotta, you grade yourself to the champions, and they are the champions, right? I do think that there are going to be other situations that will be a little different. But you can never, because you can't bank on injuries. You would only imagine that the Niners will probably be a better team, because last year they got hit with injury. Teams like Detroit was injured going into that postseason. I'll give them that. They were injured going into that postseason, but they did lose their coaches. So they you don't know where they're going to be at. Detroit, where they're going to be at. So but I do think Washington is in the mix. They're in the mix, and that's the greatest thing to say. Like, we're in the mix. Like, we are Super Bowl contenders, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, power rankings right now, most people's power rankings, they're in the top 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Most power rankings. That's telling you how people see this thing. And it all starts because number five. I mean, when you have a franchise quarterback, it changes everything. It changes your approach on free agency. So it's no more reaching now. You don't have to reach anymore. You don't have to, every year go out and get the best free agent that's available just to make it look like you're trying to win. No, they have to be strategic now. And the other thing that's going to change is they're not going to be picking anymore in the top five, top six picks, top seven picks. They're going to be picking at the bottom of the draft of each round going forward, because I sincerely believe that Washington's going to be a player here now for the next decade, barring no injuries to Jayden. They're going to be there, and so now you just have to be strategic about who do you want to bring in, who fits the culture of the locker room is just as important as what they can do on the field, and that's why I think some of these players that people keep throwing out there may not be the culture guys that they want in the building.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I trust Adam Peters. That's why, that's how I look at it. So Adam Peters wants like a player like Deebo. I trust the system. You know what I mean? Like, you just gotta trust him because he knows what he's doing. So but going back to Deebo, so I think you mentioned Terry McLaurin. I do think that's an interesting point because we're talking about T. Higgins. Like folks, they want T. Higgins. I feel like Deebo would be like the best. The reason why I think Deebo for wide receivers that are out there, because even I would say Garrett Wilson is kind of iffy. Like he come in this situation, it would be like a battle who's number one, right? Because he has a different mindset too as well. But I do think that Deebo coming here, like it's perfect for somebody like Terry, right? It's just I think it's a perfect match for Terry because to your point, Terry is the number one, and I think Deebo would understand that off the rip, like he's the number one. I'm gonna get my plays how I get my plays. I don't expect to be the featured guy. You know what I mean? Like I expect to still be productive, but I don't expect to be a featured guy. But so if Deebo was here, how would you feel like he meshes with Terry?
I think he will mesh great. I do. I mean, obviously, all you have to do is look out in San Fran. You know how he meshed with, with Brandon Ayuk. So I just think that sometimes there's fits that make more sense. And I think Deebo would be more of a fit for Washington and everything they're trying to do more so than T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a really good football player, don't get me wrong. But again, you're going to pay a lot of money to that guy. And I'm sure a mentality of I can be the number one here. No, whoever comes here needs to understand you are Robin. I mean, just here's your mask, your black mask, and here's your red and green outfit. Because that dude over there is wearing the black outfit. That's Batman over there. And you're not going to disrupt that. They don't need anyone to disrupt that. So I think Garrett Wilson could work here. Because
you think he would know his role? Because
I think he does. I think he will.
He wasn't liking how he was treated.
Well, that's because they went out and got somebody, off the street to replace him because Aaron Rodgers. And look how that worked out. But the other thing that I think why Garrett Wilson could work in Washington is because he and Terry are very similar type players, and they're also Ohio State dudes, so they're cool with each other. And I just do. I think that could work really well for Washington. The only thing about Garrett Wilson is he gets a lot of catches, and if you look at his numbers, over 100 catches a year. But he's not one of those guys that gets a lot of yards afterwards, so he's another, kind of possession-y type receiver. And I think for Washington, they need a guy that can be a home run type of guy, a guy that can stretch the field, a guy that can do some different things. And then you go back to Deebo Samuel, and he might be that type of player. Not the fastest guy, but he's just a crafty guy that just knows how to find spots to get open. And again, I think he's a guy that you can put in the backfield at times. I mean, they could just use him all over the place, and it would free up Terry's game even more. And let's just not say that, okay, you go out and get Deebo Samuels, that's it for you at wide receiver. No, they still have the draft. Yeah. And there's a lot of really good receivers coming out. There's a kid from Iowa State that I love, that I think he's a big receiver, but he's a slot guy, believe it or not, at like 6'3", 6'4", works underneath. That's another guy that you could get maybe in the second or third round, and still go out and get yourself, another receiver, veteran, free agent receiver via trade or free agency. So they're not done here, man. I mean, this is this is just the beginning of things. I was having a conversation earlier with a good friend of mine, and he was just like, he just hopes that it doesn't take several years for him to figure it out. And I'm like, look, if it does, it does, because for several years they're going to be in the mix. So it's always going to be about a draft class. It's always going to be about filling some needs, and people don't be fooled. Although this team went to the NFC Championship, they still had a big void in talent when you compare them to Philadelphia's roster. There's, Philadelphia's talent grade from my grade was a 97 all across the board, 1 through 53. My talent grade for Washington was a 74. So yeah, you got to bring that up to 80.
Yeah, I think if Washington does it right, and I'm gonna read some of these comments too. So I don't want folks to think I forgot about them. I will read your comments. I just feel like when it comes to Philadelphia and Washington, I feel like I think the way Philadelphia drafts is amazing. They draft the way I would draft, to be honest with you. Like when Jalen Carter was out there and he kept slipping, I was like, hey, somebody got to take him. When he got to Philly, I knew Philly was going to take him. I just knew it. Philly was going to take him because they don't play around with supreme talent that's out there. They don't play,
and they develop their own talent. That's the other thing. They don't. I know they went out and traded for AJ Brown a couple years back, but outside of that, I mean, you look at all their studs. I know, last year they got Saquon, of course. He fell into their lap, but I mean, if you look,
that was nasty work.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at their offensive line, if you look at their defensive line, if you look at the secondary now with DeJean and Mitchell, I mean, I know Darius Slater got him from Detroit years ago, but I mean, for the most part, though, if you look at their past couple drafts, their offensive lineman last year before that offensive lineman to go, with Carter and to go with, the other kid they drafted. So what I'm saying is, they're doing it and they're building in the trenches. They got their trenches squared away, and they probably have the best offensive line. And ironically, excuse me, the best defensive line. There's a reason why we saw that mugging on Sunday night. I mean, that was, as I tell people, that was a back alley, give me your money slap that they put on Kansas City. And I don't think anyone was expecting to see that. They are, without question, the favorite to get back to the Super Bowl next year. But I will say this. I think the team that really proved this year they can go with them. I'm not saying if they played 10 times, Washington's winning 7 games, because they're not. But Washington probably could get 4 on them as of today. Okay, they might get realistically 3. Washington will win 3 out of 10 games currently constructed against the Philadelphia team that just won the Super Bowl. But now, if you go out and make a couple moves here and there, you can get a Myles Garrett, maybe you can get a Crosby. You can bring that up to 5. Look, that's what I'm saying. No other team in the league's doing that to Philadelphia.
This is what it is. Like, and this is no, for Eagle fans. I know some of y'all have been jumping on streams or whatever. Because I feel y'all so geeked about the Super Bowl. You should be. I understand. But all Washington needed was a mid defense. So all they needed was a mid defense.
I mean, you go back to the championship game. I was there, and
all you need was
you take the turnovers away.
Yeah,
the turnovers are what doomed Washington. They were in that game. It was 14-12 with like 4 minutes left in the first half. I mean, and then the wheels just fell off. The penalties, the turnovers. And I understand Washington beat Philadelphia without Jalen Hurts when he got hurt in the first quarter of that game. But that still was the same Kenny Pickett that the week afterwards hung 41 up on the Giants. So again, it was a fair loss. I mean, the outcome could have been different if Jalen had played, because they were up big when he got hurt. But the point I'm making is Washington, and what I saw in that NFC Championship game, being there, you see it was different. But now, having looked at the tape and looked at the actual broadcast of the game, man, Washington's offense was moving the ball. They were moving the ball effectively throughout the game. They just couldn't do anything on defense. They just couldn't do anything. I was going to say in the turnovers by the offense, the fumbles, De'Ami Brown fumbling, Austin Eckler fumbling, and then McNichol fumbling fumble on the kickoff. I mean, so again, that put the defense in bad situations. So, and they weren't good enough to overcome those situations, and that's why you got to attack the defense with the draft and free agency big time.
All right, we got a question from Dujane for you, like. Dujane said, "Big bro, what do you think Miles' price tag would be? Because you don't want to give up draft capital."
Well, you're gonna have to. I mean, for a guy like that, defensive player of the year, one of the best 2-3 defensive players in the league every year, you're gonna have to give up this year's first rounder, which I'm okay with because it's a 29th pick. So you give up the 29th pick, and to me, you see if Cleveland is willing to do that pick. And either Daron Payne or John Allen, So I would come to Cleveland and say, hey, here's a 29th pick this year, number one first round pick, and here's Daron Payne, a Pro Bowler who's still young. So you're not walking away with nothing, because you get the first round pick. Now you'll have two, and you get a Pro Bowl player at tackle. And if they say, well, we need more, then I say, okay, what about a third from next year? And you see if that's what they take. If they don't, then okay, boom. But at no point am I giving up a first this year and a first next year. I just won't do that.
You won't do that?
No, I won't. I love Myles Garrett, love him, and he would be a big time asset for Washington. Okay. But you were just in the NFC Championship game.
No reason I'm saying is because I feel like we get Myles Garrett, we're gonna be drafting at 29-30 again.
Well, they're gonna be that's the goal. I mean, the goal is you should be picking late all the time. So, I see what you're saying. So if you give up next year's first round, you're saying it's gonna be low regardless anyway. So I mean, you know what? If that's the case, then I'd give up 2 first rounders and not a player.
I'm cool with that.
Like you're not feasting me for 2 first rounders and one of my Pro Bowl tackles. No, I can't do that.
I'm with you. I think that this is the reason why I say that. What reason why I would do, I can do that. But also, I'm not sure if they want the issue with Myles Garrett for them too is the contract. Payne got a good contract. I don't know if they want that contract in that building too. It ain't like it's I feel like they would want a young, and be real with you, I think they would want a younger player that's on like who's up and coming, that's on a mid contract.
Well, I'm not trading Newton. I wouldn't do that.
See, I think they would. I would trade a Newton. That's just
no. They're not doing that. You got to break up that Alabama wall because that's a mudslide.
But you know what? When you got Myles Garrett, that's getting double teamed. They not.
Now listen, if you're giving up 2 first rounders, you're not getting anything else. I mean, you might get some flowers. You might get 2 first rounders, and I'll send you a box of chocolates. But you're not walking out with a player and 2 first rounders. That's a fleece.
I'm gonna tell you like I told somebody else, dude. Jayden Newton is good. He's a really good player. But it's like saying, you know what? You all right? You Redskin. You covered the Redskins for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying, is it? I want in my mind. Is a single? I think it's Stokes. No, Stokes played in, right? Didn't Stokes play in in 91? Who played inside? It was Johnson, right? Did Johnson play inside?
Yeah.
All right. It's like saying, you know what? I like Johnson a lot. I like him a lot. But if you want to give me Reggie White,
yeah, but again, you got to keep in mind that's one of Adam Peters' draft picks.
That's true though.
And he's a kid that showed me a lot of flashes last year, not fully healthy, because he had the 2 surgeries on his feet, both feet. Mm-hmm. So, I think a full off season of conditioning for him, he'll be what they are expecting. He was a monster at Illinois, Big Ten Player of the Year. So I just think that if you can somehow have a lineup next year of Myles Garrett on one end, and I'm telling you, man, don't be surprised about Max Crosby as well. This isn't going to be one of those Dan Snyder type splashes that they're just out there buying and throwing money around. These are moves now that are being made to get to a Super Bowl. Not to fill seats. It's to get to a Super Bowl. And I really feel like now the other difference is this team has the cachet that these guys are looking at them like, I want to be part of this because they know that they could put them over the top. And who wouldn't want to have to play Philadelphia 2 times, possibly 3 times a year?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I want that smoke. I don't, yeah, I'm still angry, so I want that smoke. Folks know I'm real angry about that. Luce 202 said, "How you gonna get Miles and Crosby without giving up draft picks?" No, we talking about giving up draft picks.
No. Yeah, you giving up draft picks for both of those guys. You might, you listen. Let me just pose this to somebody.
Yeah,
If you could give up a first rounder this year and potentially one of the D tackles, Payne or Allen,
I do that.
for Crosby, would you do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would. I
Now,
don't think you need to do that much though to get Crosby though. I don't know if you.
oh, well, you might. I mean, you might have to give up a first, but it could be next year's 1st.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you could give up next year's first and, next year's first and a third, okay, from this year to get Max Crosby, I'm doing it.
Yeah, easily.
Okay, and then I'm taking this year's first and one of those D tackles, one or the other, me probably Payne.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Cleveland and saying, "Can we get this done for Miles Garrett?" And you walking away with two, I mean, Hall of Fame caliber defensive ends, and Crosby's still young. He's been in the league 5 years. So now you have your bookend pass rushers, and you still have Newton, and you either have John Allen or you have Payne next to them. I'm telling you, that's a formidable defensive front. That's coming at you, and you didn't give up much for it. I know people say, "Oh no, you gave up your first rounders," but as you said, those first rounders are going to be late nowadays. You're not giving up the second and third pick in the draft, and I think fans need to understand that. That's the mindset now of, okay, yeah, you can have this pick. It's going to be the 30th pick next year. It's going to be the 31st pick next year. It's going to be in the Super Bowl. That's how people think. Yeah. So I'm off in those picks.
Yeah, we're not mid no more. Like, that's what I'm saying. We're not mid no more. But I'll throw this at you then. I know this show was supposed to be about Deebo, and now we kind of going somewhere else. So, I like Crosby. I think Crosby. This is wild because I said this. Like, I want Garrett. Like, I think Garrett is like the best defensive player in football. Period. Like, that's my mentality. That's how much I love Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett is like that.
I think Crosby fits the culture here.
There you go. So exactly. So all right.
Big
so now you know where I'm coming from. So
yeah. I
said this, and I had this battle with myself. I'm like, damn, Myles Garrett is like the best player. Period. Between the two, Myles Garrett is the better player.
Yeah.
I want people to understand that. But I think Crosby is just a better fit.
Yeah, I think Crosby's the better fit.
Yeah.
And I think he's younger, which is even better fit.
Yeah.
But I just think that with Myles Garrett, though, you know what you're getting with him.
Exactly.
And if you can get both of them, which I'm telling you is not far-fetched to think that. People can tell you can't afford both those guys. If you can afford those two tackles, trust me, you can afford those two bookends. But the tackles won't be there. And okay. I mean, because when they were there, they weren't there. So it doesn't matter to me,
Yeah, I'm with you. You got a question from my man Dan, and he says, "Like, would you be surprised if the Commanders don't make any big splashes in free agency and / trades and continue to build through the draft? Browns will ask for at least 3 first-round picks."
No, I mean, listen, I'm not going to be surprised. I don't think this is going to be fantasy football for this team, though. They're going to be smart about who they bring in. So I don't want fans to get into this idea of, that they're getting ready to go crazy here because they have the money. They had the money last year, and look at what they did. They signed a lot of 1-year prove-it-to-me deals, 2-year deals. So they didn't go out and break the bank and go nuts. And they don't need to. They were just in the NFC Championship game, So there's talent that's going to upgrade the roster naturally, but it has to be a good fit. And I think the player, the person, the man's got to be somebody that can fit in that locker room. And in my 15 seasons covering the team, this was without question the best, most pleasant locker room I've ever been in.
Saying that.
It was incredible,
Donna
man.
said the same thing. Donna said the same.
Yeah, every day being in there, it was just, First of all, for me to be able to say this, like for me to be able to joke and talk to the quarterback every day,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't happen. It didn't happen in Washington because most of the time the quarterbacks were never in the locker room. It was almost like they were not even part of the team.
That's great. You're right.
Yeah, Alex Smith was the only one that I ever saw chilling in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jayden was in that locker room every day, literally as one of the guys, and that's all you need to know, you know. So it was a different vibe. Bobby Wagner, you know, just my dude, you know, just a good guy, man. You know, it just there were no egos in there. Zach Ertz, everyone was approachable. Terry, you know, everyone. You could talk to everyone. You could talk to them about non-football stuff, and they would respond. So, you know, you don't want to disrupt that, man. That's what got them to the NFC Championship was the culture. Now you get the talent to go with the culture. It can get real scary around here, and I think again, man, I think for Washington to know right up the road from them in Philly is the blueprint on how you build through the draft and you keep your guys and you make go out and get a missing piece that you can like a Saquon. You know, I'm telling you, Philly's gonna make a run of Myles Garrett.
I know they are.
So, and you do not want that. Definitely, you do not want that. So, for Washington again, priority number one, get some help on that defense. You know, get yourself some edge rushers, get some offensive linemen, and you're going to definitely need to go that route on the offensive line because Sam Cosmi's not going to be available right away. You know, people keep forgetting that ACL tear for a man that size, he's more than likely. Not more than likely, he will be on the PUP list when the season starts. So you're not going to see him for the first half of the season. So that's the thing, man. You know, they're going to have to go out and still get more pieces on the offensive line. I thought Trent Scott played well enough to bring back, you know, and Brandon Coleman is a guy that maybe if you are in a position to get a left tackle, you can move him inside, you know, to being your left guard, you know. Allegretti is a guy that could be a depth player. Tyler Biadasz obviously is your starting center. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, Cornelius Lucas played himself into, I think, being signed back. So, you know, but you do need to get your trenches straight on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Paul. Actually, this is a good question. And speaking of the offensive line, so yeah, we're definitely going. We're going this route now. He said, free agency with Stanley out of Baltimore, cornerback Ward, who I do like. I love Ward in San Francisco. Obviously, Adam Peters ties. Brandon Sheriff, a return for Brandon Sheriff, and this is a guy that we talked about. We talked about defensive end and saying if you didn't want to trade Khalil Mack. So I'm like
no.
I know people were talking about. I would get Khalil Mack.
No.
I don't feel like I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I would get Khalil Mack in this aspect because if I'm not going to, this is if I'm not going to trade, if I can't get a trade for Crosby, because I'm with you with these two dudes. If I can't get Crosby and I can't get Myles Garrett, whatever reason, I can't get them because you know when you're trading, you don't control that destiny. So another team can outbid you. Just it is what it is. If I can't get Crosby or Myles Garrett. I know people are talking about I want to bring Dante Fowler back. Nah, if I have to get a player, if it's gonna be an older player, and on the market I look, it would be a Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack would be my free agent go to.
Yeah, I mean if he yeah, I mean but there's guys like Hendrickson from Cincinnati that could be available. I mean there's other viable. Yeah, he's good, man. There's other guys.
Yeah, I like him. He's a motor guy.
Yeah, I just think this team is in. They're in mode to win now.
Okay.
But they also know that they have such a huge window. Their window is not like Detroit's is closing. Their window is just they're still pushing it open. You know, so I'm not a big fan of going out and getting guys that have been 3-4 teams at this point in their career. Still Hall of Fame type player. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that you can do that with the draft and start developing some guys because when you look up in Philadelphia with Brandon Graham more than likely retiring after this year, I think the average age for Philadelphia's defensive front four is like 24 years old. That's unheard of. So they're going to be around for a long time too. So I know we're talking about Myles Garrett, who will be turning 30, and
That's
Max
ridiculous.
Crosby, who's like 28. So my point is, that's still really good football left, especially for Crosby. He's 2 years younger than Garrett, 3 years younger. So, you can do that. I just think that they just have to be smart about how they do that. But I am in agreement. The one thing I will say I'm in definite agreement with you is that those first round picks don't mean jack to me now because they're going to be picking so low.
Yeah.
Move them if you got to use it to get what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you believe, and I do. So I'm saying I do believe. If you believe you're going to be a late round, like you're going to be drafted in the back, yeah, why not? I mean,
Why
teams
not?
do it. Why not? Like
Why not?
the Chiefs that used to do it all the time. They would trade out of the first because they felt like they were better. Like they won a particular player, they would trade out the first. So why
Hmm.
not? You know what I mean? Paul said Crosby has to give up this year's or for Crosby, give this year's second and a fifth and next year's second. Yeah, I don't think he had to give a first for Crosby. I don't think
No,
so.
you don't. So if you gave up this year's second and fifth,
Yeah, and then second next year.
if you're telling me, okay,
Hmm.
that you're getting rid of your first rounder for this year,
Hmm.
okay, and a defensive tackle who's currently on the roster, one or the other between Allen and Payne, and you're also giving up your second and a fifth from this year. So basically, your first, second, fifth, and a player, and you're bringing in Miles Garrett and Max Crosby.
You win, bro.
You're winning.
You're winning, bro.
Man, you're winning, and not just for 1 year. You're winning
Winning
for a
for a
while.
while.
You have to do that.
I'm with it.
You have to do that, and then you still have your other picks, and you still have other assets that you can maneuver to maybe get something back, recoup something back.
Yeah.
But let's face it, when you start talking about fifth round picks, most of those guys end up being role players.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Facts.
But to walk away with those two guys as your bookends, oh my God! I mean,
That defense would be you want
they-
to blitz?
they would, without question, be the number 2 power ranked team going into next year if those two guys were on the roster.
Todd said, like, um, asked like about our last debate. Yeah, would you give a Mikey and a first rounder if to get Miles Garrett?
Would I give up Mikey and a first rounder?
To get Miles Garrett? If they said I want Mike, they want Mikey. And the first round pick to get Miles Garrett. Look at
Listen, man, I might surprise you with that and say no.
Okay. All right.
And you know why I would say that? Because man, it's because Mikey fits what they want, man.
Yeah.
The type of person, the type of locker room guy, tough football player. He had a damn good rookie year. That's what I'm saying, man. So no, I would not. And I don't think that would be something in the cards anyway. Most teams aren't trading corners for edge rushers. So nah, man, they try to trick me on that.
Hey, I think I'll surprise you. I would do it.
Yeah, I know you would. And I know somebody might tell me I'm stupid for even thinking that I wouldn't do that.
No.
But that first rounder, I think you can give up one of those tackles and get, excuse me, if you're Cleveland, that's more value than Mikey. I mean, they have.
I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, it goes back to what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to deal with that contract. Like, that contract, like Payne's. I think Allen's contract's a little bit flexible. I think because Payne has the newer contract. So I think like
Allen is definitely the more, excuse me, the more cap friendly contract.
Yeah. Exactly. But the problem with Payne,
and I would do that then. I would get rid of John Allen then. One of them got to go. I do know that. You can't have both of them.
I agree with you. So I do agree with you. I'm just saying, like, the issue, all right, so this is the thing. If I'm a GM, to your point, Allen's contract, this is the more flexible contract. But he is the older player between the two. Because Payne is the younger one. I would want the younger player for real. But
I need Deron to play, man. Deron, both of them, man. And again, I'm not piling on, but people get excited when they make a play. Like they're getting paid to make more than one play a game. They're getting paid to be disruptors, and they haven't been. Let's just call it like it is. I saw more from Newton this year than both those guys.
Oh no, I see. I thought I saw. I ain't gonna lie. I thought Newton took us. I think towards the end, towards the mid, because I like Drazan. So I don't want to throw. It's not throwing shade at Drazan. I like Drazan. I do. I'm with you on this aspect though. I do think. I don't think Drazan was healthy this year. So I don't. I want to say that we're gonna get the better version of Drazan next season. I totally agree with that.
Well, I thought Jazon and John Allen played better together.
I agree with that though. I do
And
agree.
and in the Philly game, I saw that.
Yeah.
They actually played well together. They just, again, Saquon's runs weren't necessarily up the middle of the field that game. They were hitting them edges. And if you have those two guys out there, who, by the way, are really good guys to set the edges too, and Garrett and Crosby, I'm just saying, man, that would be my whole off season would be to get those two guys. And if you do that, then everything else you fill in, free agents wise, you have all that money. You got to do what you got to do, man. And because Philadelphia, I can tell you this. Talking to people in Philadelphia after that game, I have more people from Philadelphia tell me they look at Washington as their legit threat.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
More than any other team. And it was because of Jayden Daniels. And they all said to a man, if you guys can get some defense, this might get real interesting. I would not look forward to playing you guys 2 times, possibly 3 times. That's what they were telling me.
AJ Brown pretty much said that after he said that. AJ Brown said that.
Yeah, I'm not blowing smoke, man. This is real. You go on my social media. You see me in a Philadelphia suite with a friend of mine that has a suite up there, Philly guy, and they were all like, "Man, this football team is way ahead of the curve." So now you got beat down by a team that was better than you, and now I think you'll come back next year better. Someone's talking about Lattimore. No, I don't think so. They like Lattimore quite a bit.
I like Lattimore.
And you have to understand that hamstring was not 100%, and he came in midway through the season, man. You had to learn different strategies, different players. I just think, again, I like what this guy's saying here. He wants to Max Crosby. They want to help a team get over the hump. Listen, Washington's no more secret around the league. Yeah. Everybody knows that this is the team that's like right there, and they need some horses to get them over the hump. And those 2 guys will get them over the hump. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, for anybody hating on Marshawn. You tell me that Myles Garrett and Crosby are on that defensive line, Marshawn Lattimore will be
That's what I'm saying.
a true shutdown corner, trust me. Because now he's not going to have to cover a guy for 3-4 seconds because there's no pass rush. So, yeah, man, come on.
I like this one, too. Like you said, Paul said, Ward, Lattimore.
I like that. And I think Jimmy Ward might be a guy.
Yeah.
I think he might be a guy, again, history with Adam Peters. Yeah. And unfortunately, he lost his child this year.
Yeah.
And he's been talking about it's just tough to be in that environment, in that setting, because it reminds him of his daughter. So that might be something that he may need as a change of scenery, just for his own mental aspect. So you telling me Ward, Mikey, and Lattimore with those other guys up front? Yeah, man, it would get real interesting if they could pull this off.
So basically, I want to tell folks out there, for real, like real talk, like you can get the T. Higgins of the world, you can get the Deebo Samuels of the world, and you think that's going to get you over the top. That's not going to be it. I ain't going to lie to folks. That's not going to have you beat the
Eagles.
I'm
not worried about the offense, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going to have you beat the Eagles. The goal is to beat the Eagles now. That's your goal right now. You know what I mean? So so that tells you you got to fix that defense. Now I want to make sure people on social media knows this. I'm sick of saying we got to get this player, like this wide receiver, that wide receiver. I want folks to understand we got to fix that defense, bro. We got to fix that defense to a point where I'm not even asking for it to be a top 5 defense. It'd be great to be a top 5 defense, but I'm just asking it to be like the mid part, like 15 to 10.
They were 16 this year.
Yeah. Well,
16. And
oh,
with
I'm
those
sorry.
two guys joining the party, they're guaranteed to be a top 10 defense.
So let me put it this way. I mean, I guess because it's to me it's that run defense, especially. I mean, well, I'll put it this way. I felt like the offense helped that defense with the rankings because of like the time of possession and whatnot. Like we were good with time and possession.
Mhm.
I'm just well, I'll say this much. In terms of average yards per carry, if we can just drop that down like a couple of notches down, we will be a way better defense. You know what I mean? Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying like I'll say this: we're in the top 10 and stopping the run. I believe we will be we will be a Super Bowl. No, I'm gonna be blunt. If we go to 10 and stopping the run, we're going to the Super Bowl. I am that confident.
Well, you put it in perspective. They gave up excuse me, they gave up 5 100-yard rushers this year. 3 of them were by the same person, Saquon.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs had one, and then oh my gosh, oh my goodness, somebody else had one, and I just saw it. I was just doing these stats in my show. Basically, 500-yard games this year, and ironically, they won 3 of them. So, the
Henry.
stats can be mislead. It was Derrick Henry.
Derrick
That's
Henry.
that's
Oh,
exactly what it was. So, they can do some damage as constructed, but we know that they need more frontline help, and they'll go and get it. But I don't want anyone thinking that this is going to be one of those, rotisserie football type things, fantasy football, where they're just going out just throwing dollars around. It's not. You got responsible people in the building now to know what they're doing. So just sit back and relax, but understand that they will be better next year, talent wise for sure.
Yeah, my issue is like more like the average yards per carry. Cause like a lot of these dudes that run like their average, like Washington's average yards per carry in terms of
They
against
were getting gashed.
it's
They
getting
were.
gas. You know what I mean? Like some
Yeah.
teams don't they quit the run. Like all right, put for instance, we saw Gibbs, right? Detroit did us a favor at times by not giving him the ball enough.
They sure did. They
You know what I
they
mean?
totally got Ben Johnson, the
Exactly.
mastermind,
Exactly.
turned his mind off in the second half. I was like,
Exactly.
why is he not running this guy who was killing those guys? Yeah, and again, that's the stuff that you're right. You saw that they couldn't stop them. So
Yeah.
now you need some guys that are gonna. You just need guys that are going to make people worry. And I think as the season got going at later in, people did start looking for Frankie, and they started running plays at him to take him away from the game. But now I think if you can add some more guys, you'll see the guys like Frankie take even another step up. He had a Pro Bowl year this year. It'll be even more entrenched. Mikey had a really good rookie campaign. Jeremy Chin, who I think they're going to resign, had a good season as well. But I think Jeremy Chin and Quan Martin will benefit the most, believe it or not, if they have 2 edge rushers, because now they're not being asked to cover, and pass coverage all the time because they're hitters. They're guys that want to play coming downhill, not being on their heels.
Yeah, with the Lucci 22 said, if we can get those edge guys and only need to rush 4, then DB's going to eat. Yeah, I agree.
100%. That's just football 101. That's what Philadelphia did. Obviously, Sunday night against Kansas City, and you saw Patrick putting them up there. DeJean had one, the other guy had another. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what happens when you can get pressure on a quarterback.
Rico Dotto was like Emmitt Smith against us, and he was trash to me. I don't know. That's why I knew the run defense was
Yeah.
bad. That's why I knew the run defense was really bad when I saw that game. I was like, okay.
Yeah. He didn't get 100 though, but he was
He got
close.
like 88 yards. He was
Yeah,
like,
he did. I mean, he was on his way. They stopped running too.
Yeah, he stopped running. Like, that's what teams do against us. Like, that's what I'm like. They just stop running. Ain't like we stop, they just stop running. I'll be like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a race to build a team to beat those Eagles. Yeah, man, I'm trying to beat those Eagles. That's what it is for real. To get it to a point to beat the Eagles. But hey, Lake, I appreciate you being on. We talked about Deebo. We pretty much came to the overall conclusion that like Deebo would be nice, but
you can get him for a 4th or a 5th. Yeah, you think about 5th. I'm doing.
What we really need to be worried about.
Yeah, they need to get some studs on defense before anything.
Facts. Hey, Lake, before we let you go, man, how can folks catch you on social media, and how can they catch your awesome podcast as well?
Sure. You can check me out on social media at Lake Lewis Jr. You can subscribe to my podcast, The Lake Lewis Jr. Show. It's on YouTube as well as most major podcast carriers. Just got picked up, this week by Pandora. So, pretty happy about that. So it's pretty much on all the major platforms. And of course, turn Sports Journey over to DJ and my boy Connor. So they're running that, doing a really good job. But check them out over there. They're doing an awesome job. And then you can check me out sometimes on ABC, up in DC. If you weren't watching this, but you were watching that, I was on tonight at 9 o'clock on there. So obviously recorded this morning, but so yeah, you can check me out on there.
That's dope. That's dope. Hey, Lake, thanks for being on. Hey, I'm gonna hit you up, my man. DH Darian. I think you know Darian. DH.
Of course.
Yeah, Darian. He's trying to do an event. We'll have like a couple commanders, insiders, reporters out there to kind of talk about the team.
Okay, so just let me know. I'm down.
I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk to you.
All right,
man. Thanks for being on, bro.
All right, appreciate you, man. All right.
Appreciate you as always, bro.
Okay.
My man. All right, man. That was Lake Lewis Jr., Commanders and NFL Insider. Yeah, man. So we out here, man. But this has been a dope show. Appreciate y'all. So again, the overall conclusion: defense, y'all. That's what we need to beat the Eagles. We need defense. That's what we need. Stock that defense, and I feel confident to say that we are next in line. We stock our defense. We're next in line. We got JD5 with the defense. Nah, we score against the Eagles. Like, that ain't a problem. We got to stop the Eagles. We score against the Eagles. We just got to stop the Eagles. And we got to stop Saquon. You know what I'm saying? We got to sign Eagles, free agents, get stronger, make them. I was thinking the same thing, Deluxe. I'm not going to lie to you. I was thinking the same thing. I would sign some Eagles. I think they're going to cut Slay. I ain't going to hold you. I think they're going to cut Slay. Yeah. We all in the same. We all on the same mind wavelength, because I'm with that. I was thinking that, like, just sign some Eagle players and kind of mess them up. You know what I mean? Just mess them up. But yeah, but on defense though, I don't need any Eagle players on the offense. But on Eagle players on offense. I want some defensive players. Oh yeah, Becton. Yep, I'll take that offensive line. I would sign Becton. I would. I would also try to think about signing like my man Paul said, signing not from the Eagles, Brandon Sheriff. I would be interested in signing Brandon Sheriff back to DC. Especially with Sam Cosmi being out. Like, I would think about that. But also, I do like if we can get a tackle, bumping Coleman to guard. I do like that idea too. So they definitely have some decisions to make within the trenches for this football team in the offseason. But yeah, to Deebo, would I get? Yeah, again, I would trade for Deebo? Depending on the trade, yeah, I wouldn't hate it. It's just not a big thing for me. It's not a priority to me. Deebo wouldn't be a priority. Would not be a priority at all. But again, if you are new to our YouTube channel and you're on here for the first time, please hit that red subscribe button and also like the video. Like this video. Liking the video does well for the algorithm. So for Commanders Talk, for folks to find us, please like this video. Provide us with some comments or whatnot. That would always be dope for this particular video. You can also catch us on social media. Just at Urban Sports Scene on X, on TikTok and IG at Urban Sports Scene, and also like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. I'm trying to read some of these comments. Like I said, this dream will be about fit, not name. I agree. This is not the Snyder regime, so we should all be cool with that. The Miles and Crosby thing is crazy. Dog, we can get both of those dudes. I ain't gonna lie to you. That would be insane. We get both. If we found a way to get Miles Garrett and Crosby at the same time, I don't know, bro. I don't think the league wouldn't be ready for that. The league would not be ready for that. That would be wild. I'm kind of for like getting a draft, like drafting a drafting an edge rusher, but you really got to do your homework and to get a good one though. I mean, you can get one obviously you can get one in the late first. You can get one in the second round, but if that can happen, I ain't mad at it. Not giving Deluxe, not giving more than a 7. Okay, 6-7 for Deebo doesn't fit the timeline. I understand that. I respect it. I just know if I'm not, put it this way, Deebo isn't the person I'm thinking about, but if we got Deebo, I wouldn't be mad. Because I do think he would fit with Cliff. To be honest with you, I think he would fit with Cliff. But I'm with you, Deluxe. Like, it doesn't fit the timeline. It definitely doesn't fit the timeline. But we'll see, man. We'll definitely see. And also, y'all, don't forget, you can also check out our website, which is www.urbansportscene.com. All right, man, this has been a great show. I appreciate all of y'all, everybody in the chat. You guys are so dope. And again, you guys always make this show fire, man. Real talk. Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Scene for ages. You dig? Deuces. Your boy Wole is out.
Peace.